The studio lights of the voice glimmered like scattered stars as the next contestant stepped onto the stage. Kelsea Ballerini sat forward in her chair, fingers woven together, trying to shake off the lingering nerves from the previous performance. It had already been an intense night. Big voices, bold choices, and competitive energy buzzing everywhere. But something in the air shifted the moment the young woman walked out. Her name, as the announcer read, was Mara Lane, a 22-year-old singer from a small Tennessee town that reminded Kelsea of her own beginnings. Mara looked fragile in the spotlight, lanky arms, oversized sweater, and a face that tried to smile but couldn't disguise the heaviness in her eyes. Kelsea swallowed. She had seen many contestants walk out with nerves, but this felt different. This was life-worn. Blake Shelton glanced at Kelsea with a half-smile. "You feel that too," he whispered. Kelsea nodded. Her heart was already beating faster. When the music started, a simple acoustic introduction, Mara closed her eyes, letting the breath steady her trembling hands. And then she began to sing. The opening note was soft enough to break. It floated, almost fragile, across the room like a tiny piece of glass catching light. But beneath that softness was something raw, something that carried a bruise. Her voice had the tenderness of someone trying not to cry, and the courage of someone who refused to fall apart. Kelsea felt her breath hitch. The song was an original, something contestants rarely risk. "This one's called Leftover Stars," Mara had said nervously before starting. No one expected it to land like a punch to the heart. Her lyrics unfolded slowly, telling a story of losing her mother 2 months earlier, a loss she hadn't yet learned how to carry. She sang about nights sitting on the back porch waiting for a sign, about the ache of an empty chair at Thanksgiving, about feeling like every good thing in her life was now punctured by a hole that couldn't heal. Her voice cracked right on the line. "I'm searching for the pieces of the person I used to be." The audience went silent. Even the camera crew froze, caught off guard by the emotional avalanche spreading across the stage. Kelsea's eyes pricked with tears before she realized it was happening. Her throat tightened. She pressed a hand against her chest. Something inside her, something she hadn't touched in years, shifted. Kelsea knew grief. She knew the slow, quiet unraveling that came with losing someone you loved before you were ready. She knew the kind of pain that made every song feel heavier, every breath feel earned. By the first chorus, she wasn't just tearing up. She was full-on crying. Blake noticed and gave her a gentle nudge, but Kelsea couldn't pull herself together. The lyrics were too honest, too close, too personal. Each line felt as though Mara had somehow written it from Kelsea's own memories. Then came the climax of the song, where Mara's voice cracked in the middle of a note, and she took a trembling breath before finishing the phrase. The bravery it took to keep going made something inside Kelsea completely break. She turned her chair. Then Blake turned. Then Chance. And finally Kelly Clarkson, who whispered, "Oh my God," before slamming her button with tears running down her own face. When the last note faded, Mara lowered her hands, as if unsure whether she had done well or embarrassed herself. She looked like she was preparing for disappointment. What she got instead was a standing ovation. Kelsea wiped her cheeks quickly, trying to get herself together before speaking. But the minute Mara saw Kelsea's tears, her own eyes filled. "Kelsea," Blake teased softly, patting her back, "you want a minute." Kelsea laughed through her tears. No, I'm good," she said, though her voice shook. She leaned forward in her chair, gripping the armrest like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "Mara, that was one of the most beautiful, heartbreaking performances I've ever witnessed." Mara pressed her hand against her chest, stunned. Kelsea continued, each word soaked in emotion. "You didn't just sing a song, you gave us a piece of your soul. And that takes bravery, real bravery. I saw myself in you. I heard things I've felt but could never say out loud. You made this room stop. You made me stop." Her voice cracked again, and she paused, letting the tears fall freely this time. "You deserve to be heard," Kelsea whispered. The crowd cheered. Mara covered her mouth with both hands as tears spilled down her cheeks too. Kelly Clarkson chimed in next. Sweetheart, you made every person in this room feel something. That's bigger than high notes or runs. That's what an artist does. Chance added, you have a purity that cuts right through the noise. Blake leaned forward, speaking gently. And sometimes the quietest voices hit the loudest. You did that. When it came time for Mara to pick a coach, she stared at Kelsea for a long moment, long enough that everyone knew the decision before she said it. I want to be on Team Kelsea. Kelsea's face lit up with a mixture of joy and disbelief. She rushed onto the stage the moment the cameras cut to commercial break. As soon as she reached Mara, she wrapped her arms around the trembling singer. You're safe here, Kelsea said softly, holding her like someone who truly understood. We're going to take your story and turn it into something powerful, something beautiful. Mara nodded into her shoulder, grateful tears dampening Kelsea's sleeve. The studio buzzed with energy, but for a moment, the two of them stood in a pocket of quiet, healing air. Two people who didn't know each other an hour earlier, suddenly connected by music, grief, and courage. Later backstage, Kelsea still looked a little shaken. That's why I love this show, she said into the camera. Because every once in a while, someone walks in with a voice that doesn't just make you listen, it makes you feel. And that night, across social media, fans would write about the same thing. Kelsea Ballerini cried on stage tonight, and honestly, we all did too. The performance replayed again and again, already going viral before the show even ended. But for Kelsea, it wasn't about the viral moment. It was about seeing a young woman step out of darkness and into the light, carrying her pain, her story, and her heart in every note. And for the first time in a long time, Kelsea felt her own heart heal a little too.